I hate to point out the obvious, but you are in fact a hooker, and you are my employee.
You and I are such similar creatures, Vivian. We both screw people for money.
Mr. Morse.
Yes, Mr. Lewis. I'm Jim Morse. This fireball is my grandson, David.
Well, I don't know about the fireball part, but grandson's true enough.
Well, I'm pleased to meet you both. This is a friend of mine, Vivian Ward.
Hi.
So why did Edward Lewis bring a prostitute to $1 billion negotiation? In films that feature serious negotiations, prostitutes are not an uncommon element. In The Godfather, for example, prostitutes are thrown out during tense moments of negotiation.
Hello, Mike. Welcome to Las Vegas. All for you, kid. Huh? Well, his idea, right? Didn't you?
Freddie. Your brother, Freddie.
It was hey, girls here. Well, I'll be right back.
All right.
Okay. You keep them occupied. Attaboy. Huh? Anything you want, kid. Anything. Huh?
Who are the girls?
That's for you to find out.
Get rid of them, Fredo.
Hey, Mike.
Fredo, I'm here on business. I leave tomorrow and I get rid of them. I'm tired. Get rid of the band, too.
Hey, let's take off. Come on, take off. Let's go. Come on. Hey, that's it. Hey, Angelo. That's it. Quiet. Come on, let's go. Hey, come on! Scram!
But in the famous Pretty Woman, the prostitute is hired, brought to the negotiation, and actually stays. Why? Why did Edward Lewis, as directed by the screenwriter, bring a prostitute to such a high-stakes negotiation? Why a prostitute and not a woman of high class, which might seem more appropriate? Not everyone understands this, so let me explain. The situation is this. The older man, James Morse, is the founder of a billion-dollar shipbuilding empire. On the other side is Edward Lewis, a corporate raider who makes money by buying large companies with loans, chopping them up, and selling the pieces for profit. Edward doesn't create anything. He simply exploits others for financial gain. Creators like James are typically logical, while non-creators like Edward are more emotional. The strength of a logician lies in their ability to think logically, a rare skill. To strip the logician of his advantage, you have to shift him into an emotional state, making him confused and disarmed. Once disarmed, he becomes easy to manipulate. You can get him drunk, mess with his mind, or present him with an unsolvable riddle, like the character of Vivian Ward, cheap in essence, yet dressed expensively. While the inexperienced logician is trying to figure her out, he's pulled into an emotional state. Right then, you can strike. So Edward tosses this riddle at James, a cheap prostitute at the core, uneducated and unrefined, but dressed expensively. At first glance, she doesn't appear cheap. A prostitute in an expensive restaurant. Unthinkable. If you don't understand what you've been served, if you're confused or unsure, you get emotional. James's grandson falls for it.
I've heard enough of this. Vivian, it was a great pleasure to meet you. I'm sorry, grandfather, I've got to get some air.
Watching the snails, he panics and becomes emotional. This is how you can take a vulnerable person. The grandson gets up from the table. If he starts to act in a confused, emotional state, he's bound to make mistakes. This is the perfect opportunity to trip him up. But James figures it out. He handles the situation and takes Edward down. Edward used a psychological trick against James, but James countered it. And in the end, the creator, James, won. What was James's goal in the negotiation? Specifically, at the negotiation table, his objective was to eliminate Edward from the game, to defeat him as a harmful adversary. If Edward doesn't realize what's going on, he'll start making stupid decisions, and in that state, he can be easily manipulated. either sent to his downfall or made to change his ways. Yes, I'm using a term from Stalin's time, re-education. The creator James set up a re-education, which becomes clear by the end of the movie. Anyone who forgot that Edward became James's apprentice in order to stop being a parasite can rewatch Pretty Woman to the end. But before this decisive re-education phase, the wise James, under time pressure, had to neutralize Edward. Specifically, he needed to make Edward fall in love with Vivian and put her on his shoulders. In Pretty Woman, this is portrayed clearly. Before the dinner with James, Edward saw Vivian purely as a servant, even though he acted in ways that might mislead the naive in thinking he was interested in her as a woman. But he wasn't interested yet.
All right, look, I do not want any drugs here. I don't want any of this. Get your things and your money and please leave.
Before the business dinner with James, the power dynamic between Edward and Vivian was clear. Edward ruled, and Vivian was merely his errand girl. But during the dinner, James flipped the situation so that Vivian ended up on Edward's shoulders, and Edward became her subordinate. James did this simply. Edward could maintain his dominance only as long as he thought Vivian was nothing more than a cheap prostitute with no potential for anything beyond a one-time encounter. Edward ruled as long as he believed only a fool would get involved with her on any other terms. After all, she was a loser. She loved money but was poor. Let such a woman control your life, and you too would become a loser and poor. The old man shattered that defense instantly by showing exceptional respect to the prostitute. This unexpected move scrambled Edward's mindset. The cheap prostitute and loser Vivian ended up on his neck. Anyone who remembers Pretty Woman will notice how, after James placed Vivian on Edward's neck, she immediately began acting out, getting rude, and making demands.
Okay, I say who, I say when, I say who!
This was just one of James's moves, but there was a second one, a second move for the kill. The second trick was James taking control of Vivian herself. James couldn't get to Edward directly at first, but he could easily get to Vivian, who, like a cat, would respond to anyone who showed her attention and take control of her. This, in itself, wasn't valuable, not while Edward still ruled. But if you put Edward under Vivian's control, that's a win. That's power over Edward. A master's move. James, it seems, simply ate a sandwich with his hands. In reality, he gave Vivian something she deeply desired. Respect, albeit fake respect. Here's the core. Lying. Women love lies. After such delicious lying, a woman, especially a cheap prostitute, will feel forever grateful. Teach a woman to earn a car or apartment and she'll say no thanks. But give her a cheap hot dog with a fake grin and she'll build a fantasy in her head about why she should be thankful. And she won't let her man harm the one who gave her that handout. Done. James won. He disarmed Edward. Any move against him in the Edward-Vivian pair is limited by the simple brain of the street prostitute, plus her taboo against harming James. The further development of Pretty Woman is typical. After James allowed Vivian to take charge, something people like Edward, Mommy's Boys, would call love, she began to strip him of the last bit of defense from her leadership, his friendship. So Vivian separates Edward from his friend.
Well, hello again. I'm looking for Edward.
Edward's not here. I thought he was with you.
No. Edward is definitely not with me. No. If Edward were with me, when?
Actually, when Edward was with me, he didn't blow off billion-dollar deals. I think that Edward's with you. That's what I think. Mind if I have a drink?
No. No, thank you.
Well, just wait.
Edward will be back soon. Any minute he'll be home.
You know, this is not home. This is a hotel room. And you are not a little woman. You're a hooker. Maybe you're a very good hooker, you know. I mean, maybe if I do you, then I wouldn't care about losing millions of dollars, because I have to be very honest with you right now, Vivian. Right now, I really do care. I really do. I mean, right now, I am really pissed, you know? Right now, I am just freaking out. So maybe if I screw you, huh, and take you to the opera, then I could be a happy guy, just like that.
Hey, get off me!
Hey! Ow! Ow! Come on! Okay.
Get off me!
Hey, how much is
Get off me! Get off me!
$50 whore, Vivian? What are you doing? Get off! Stop. I don't want to hurt you. Stop. I want to tell you this already. Out of here. Look. She's a whore, man. She's a goddamn...
Losers often don't understand that a person can only be in two states. Either he has a dumb woman on his neck, bossing him around, or the opposite. He is part of a collective with a clear purpose. A loyal comrade. Yes, only these two states. Only two. If you don't understand that, you haven't understood life properly. It always goes like this. A woman drives a wedge between a man and his friends to sit tighter in the relationship. She does this simply. She seduces the friend of her target. If the friend sleeps with or performs oral sex on the future wife of his friend, he keeps it secret. Friendship relies on honesty. So after secret sex, friendship is over, even if the friend never finds out. And if he does, it's over. Many viewers, especially women and children, blindly believe the lawyer friend just tried to rape Vivian randomly, as if on his own, supposedly against her will. Complete nonsense. If a woman doesn't want it, the man won't make a move. A basic rule. The film clearly shows that Vivian was flirting with the lawyer, which led him to approach her. No other reason. At the races, when Vivian started talking about sex with the lawyer, she wasn't just talking. She was fantasizing. In short, Vivian became aroused, and the lawyer made his move. The movie shows this clearly, such as the long scene where she fiddles with her bra in front of him. The lawyer, a weak man, had no counter. He had no control over Vivian's psychological manipulation. In that pivotal scene, the director gave us a series of gestures from Vivian that clearly show how she digs deeper into Edward's psyche by provoking a fight between old friends. If the masses didn't understand this, that's their issue. Who stopped them from evolving? Who stopped them from realizing this deeper meaning? It's their problem. Edward is a fool, just like the audience who didn't see the manipulation. He believed the lawyer acted on his own when, in fact, Vivian was pulling the strings. This is the true love story of Pretty Woman, or rather, a so-called love. Naturally, some people identify with Vivian and think she won, even though she lost. Others identify with Edward, the puppet, and nearly no one notices the old James, the real winner. Not even the average psychologist, no matter what masks they wear. You can easily test this ignorance. Ask anyone who hasn't watched this breakdown what role James played in Pretty Woman. Most won't even remember James was in it. And even those who do won't see any role he played in the so-called love between Edward and Vivian. It's clear that the ability to recognize James's role in this story opens up vast opportunities for understanding reality and success. And remember, the ability to see the essential is a tremendously satisfying skill. Losers focus on secondary details.
Pretty woman walking